Hey friends, it's Mrs. Cantrell again, and time for our next chapter of Ivy and Bean. In the last chapter, Bean was hiding in a bush and scaring Ivy across the street by saying some spooky things to her. And then Nancy, Bean's sister, came along and said, "What are you yelling about?" So let's make some predictions about what we think is going to happen today. Today's chapter is entitled Bean Meets Ivy. So, what do you think is going to happen in this chapter? Do you think that Bean and Ivy are going to become friends? Do you think Bean's going to be right and Ivy is not someone she's going to want to be friends with? Or do they just kind of say hi and go their separate ways? Let's read and find out. I still see, looks like Bean is still in the bush. So let's see what happens. Bean meets Ivy. Bean peeked out between the leaves. Nancy hadn't seen the $20 bill. She was standing on it. Thought Bean. Her plan was a bust. But if she kept on being a ghost, maybe she could scare Nancy a little. "I'm going to wrap my fingers around your neck, too," she howled in her spooky voice, "and I'm going to spit in your ear." "No, you're not," said Nancy. She didn't sound scared. She reached into the bush and yanked Bean out. "Stop yelling." That's when she saw the $20 bill. "Hey," she said. "Where did you get the money? You don't have $20. Then she saw the string. "I see what you're doing, burp face. I bet this is my money, too." Then she picked up the bill and looked at it. "You stole my money! I'm telling Mom." She began to pull Bean towards the front door. Uh-oh, thought Bean. None of her ideas were working out today. I told you yesterday I thought she was going to get in trouble. She's at least in trouble with her sister Nancy. Now she had two choices. She could go inside with Nancy and face Mom, or she could run. So Bean fell over on the ground and started to wail, "My ankle! Ow, ow, ow! My ankle's killing me! It's sprained!" She held her ankle. Nancy frowned. "You didn't sprain your ankle, you faker," she said. But she bent down to take a look. That was all Bean needed. She stood up and ran. She ran out of her yard and around Pancake Court until she found herself in front of Ivy's house. "Ooh, you're in trouble now, Bernice Blue," yelled Nancy. "I'm going to tell Mom." Bernice was Bean's real name. People used it only when they were yelling at her. Bean couldn't help it. She just had to stick her tongue out and say, "Pfft." Then she just had to turn around and wriggle her behind at Nancy. "Look at her." "That's it," Nancy yelled. "I'm getting Mom." She stormed into the house. Uh-oh. What do you think Bean's mom's gonna do? You think she's gonna be in big trouble? Let's find out. For a minute, Bean felt happy. She loved making Nancy mad, but when Nancy was gone, Bean began to worry. Mom hated it when she did more than one bad thing at a time. Bean counted taking the money, lying about her ankle, leaving the yard without asking, and wiggling her behind at Nancy. 4 things. 5 if you counted pretending to be a ghost. Bean was going to be in big trouble. How big? No dessert for sure. No videos for a week maybe. But it could be even worse. Look at Bean and all the things she's thinking about above her head right here. What is her punishment going to be? Her mom might send her to her room for the rest of the day. Bean hated that. Hide. Bean looked up. She had forgotten all about Ivy. Ivy was still sitting on her porch. She had been watching the whole time. She knew that the ghost of Mr. Killip was really Bean inside the bush. Bean expected her to be mad, but she didn't look mad. She looked excited. Hide, she said again. Thought Bean. Maybe boring Ivy was right. If her mom couldn't find her, she couldn't send her to her room. If she stayed out until dark, her parents would stop being mad and start being worried. Her mom might say, "Oh, my poor little Bean. Oh, my poor little baby." Then they'd be so happy to see her when she came limping home that they probably wouldn't punish her at all. They might even let her have seconds on dessert. That settled it. "Okay," she said to Ivy. "Where?" "Follow me." Ivy came down the stairs and slipped behind a bush growing against her house. Bean followed her and crouched down under the wide leaves. "No, get up." "This is just the beginning," said Ivy. "I'm going to take you to a secret spot." "This isn't it?" asked Bean. The bush looked pretty good to her. "No, this is the passageway." Ivy pressed her back against the house and edged along. Bean edged along too, the wall scraping her back. They turned a corner and edged some more. Ivy's house was big. "Halt!" said Ivy. Bean halted. "Now," said Ivy, "close your eyes and I'll take you to the secret spot." "What? How come I have to close my eyes?" "Because it's a secret," said Ivy. "Duh." Bean couldn't argue with that. Ivy looked like a wimp, but she didn't talk like one. Bean closed her eyes. She felt Ivy take her by the elbow, and together they went down some steps. A door opened. More steps. Cool, damp air blew in Bean's face. Then they went up some steps. Another door opened. They were outside again. Ivy was taking Bean through some tall grass. "Shh!" said Ivy suddenly. Bean froze. "Crouch down," said Ivy. Bean crouched. There was a silence. "Okay, you can get up now." "What happened?" asked Bean. "Spies," said Ivy. Bean figured Ivy was probably making that up. "Now you can open your eyes," Ivy said. Ooh. There they are, going through the tall grass. So we made some predictions before the chapter. Now we know that Bean got in trouble with her sister. We don't know what happened with her parents. And now she's met Ivy, and she doesn't think she's as bad as what she thought she was to begin with. So we'll have to wait till tomorrow to find out what happens in the next chapter. The next chapter is Ivy hatches a plan. Remember earlier it was Bean hatches a plan. Now they've changed it to Ivy hatches a plan. Do you think that her plan is going to get them in trouble? We'll find out tomorrow. See you later.